Cool. I'm Mike Ringerberger from Naperville Music. Today we're doing a roadshow here at the Hilton in Wild, Naperville. We've got Mike Osman from Taylor Guitars and Mark Seal, Guitars Extraordinaire.
Sure enough.
Sure enough. So Mike, tell me a little bit about the roadshow. Like, what's it all about? What are some things we're going to cover tonight?
So the roadshow has been going along with Taylor now for about 5 years. It's the opportunity to discuss tone woods, body shapes, view exotic timbers, and some exotic one-of-a-kind builds. We get a chance to delve into the electric side of our company, which has become a really major arm of our business at this point.
Sure.
Tonight we're going to be debuting the double cut solid blade standard. We're going to talk about just what makes Taylor special and different from all the other traditional manufacturers, and give the opportunity to the customer, to the player, to really experience the difference on that.
Awesome, awesome. What kind of things are we going to go over with some of the double cuts tonight?
Well, we're pretty much just going to go through the basic tones of the guitar, different positions on the switching,
right?
What the sounds, what kind of versatility the instrument has. And just talk about the basic specs on a shorter scale now, for example, just things that make the guitar play really well and sound really good.
Awesome. We're going to touch on like T5s and T3s too.
We'll do T5s, we'll do the total acoustic demo, and then combine it with the electric demo and mix the two. Show the versatility of T5, which has just been crushing it. People really, they're starting to get it when they see the demo live. All of a sudden they get it, their sounds
Makes a lot more sense.
And the cool thing about the roadshow over the last couple of years is that now we've expanded it internationally, so we're doing well over 200 shows a year across the globe. We just started doing it in Australia. It really brings the factory to the consumer because, given the opportunity to showcase some of the world's best acoustic guitars, we get the chance to unveil a lot of the myths and a lot of the legendary that's going on within Taylor. So it's kind of a sneak peek as to what we're really doing, and it helps fuel just overall guitar enthusiasm. So they've been pretty successful. It's become the in-store event of the year in 2010. So it's really touched a lot of people and brought a lot of things to players that they've never seen before and have a chance to read about. So it's kind of a big thing.
It sounds like it really brings out a lot of transparency about not only the guitar but the company too, and just how you guys do stuff. So.
Sure do. I mean, Taylor's wide open. I mean, we make everything in-house. We build the tools that create the guitars that we're selling. We are the biggest manufacturer of acoustic guitars on the planet right now, and we don't share any secrets. I mean, we really want everyone to know how we do what we do, how we continue to do it well, and we want to make sure that we can repeat that success story as we just continue to add new customer base and new interest every year.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you do for Taylor, your position, and all that stuff?
Sure, I'm the district manager for Taylor Guitars. I control the Midwest. So that's going to be Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota. It's the biggest cluster of acoustic guitar buyers in the United States, and we always joke because we think it's because you guys get it pretty chilly when everyone's forced indoors.
Right.
I've been with the company now. This is starting my 6th year. This is my 2nd territory now. And I get a chance to work with dealers like you, probably about 50 to 60 dealers, and that control that independent market, that independent network. But I go out and service those dealers, build relationships, get a chance to make some friends, and sell some cool guitars.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff are you up to, Mark? I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy. Yeah, I'm doing still hosting the TV show. It's called Ultimate Guitar Show. It's now on in Louisiana, and in Arizona, it's in California. It's kind of like Wayne's World meets a real guitar lesson on television.
Right.
Have different guests come on the show and talk about guitars.
Sure.
And doing some scoring for some infomercials, and then doing a lot of touring with Taylor. Doing a lot of T5 demos and solid bodies, the double cuts, and just having a really good time playing all the guitars all over. Kind of like I go out with Mike, but I also go out with all Mike's colleagues, which is 7 or 8 other guys. So I pretty much go out with North America, so I'll see a lot of different areas and meet a lot of people as well.
Drill, man.
Yeah, it's around, it's only 15 weeks a year. The rest of the time I'll work on the TV show and teaching students.
Sure. Very good stuff.
So we're just, our final thoughts is that this has become a pretty premier event for Naperville Music. We're really excited to host it. Last year was a tremendous success, and you guys put a lot of energy into it, so we're behind you guys 100%. So we're looking forward to a really good night.
I appreciate it, man.
Pleasure's ours.
All right. Thank you, straight.
I'm going to blow your ears out from there, so it's all right. Welcome to the Taylor Road Show. This is a real privilege for us to be outside the store and in a very swanky environment here. Hope you enjoy the facilities. My name is Mike Osman. I'm the district manager for Taylor Guitars for the Midwest. I oversee Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan. It's the biggest cluster of acoustic guitar buyers anywhere in the United States. And if you've heard me say this before, you can hold the joke, but it's because you guys have pretty lousy winters, and you guys don't get enough sunshine here. Forced indoors are really good practice. The Roadshow has become real special to Taylor now because we're moving into our 5th year with this. We're doing somewhere between 200 and 220 internationally. So we just launched this event in Australia this year, which went over great. The Australians love the idea of a guitar show. They don't get that too often. But it's become the in-store event for the last 2 years, and it's really connected a lot of players and a lot of guitar enthusiasts with what we're enthusiastic about, and that's just guitars in general. So there really isn't any pre-qualifications for Taylor's Roadshow. The one thing that we have to recommend is that you enjoy yourself. We want it to be a very open forum, even though we're kind of in a real spatial setting here. So as we move through a lot of the information and music, we want you to be involved. We want you to raise your hand, and we want you to ask questions, because there's going to be questions that somebody on this side has, that somebody on this side has, but only one of you is bold enough to actually ask it. Let's get it all out on the table. Yes, I do know Bob Taylor personally. Yes, we are on first-name basis. Yes, he is at the factory every day. So let's go wherever you want to go with this. This is the opportunity for the doors of the factory to be open to you. Okay? I do have the privilege of introducing you to Mark Seal. He's a very good friend of mine and a very close Taylor family member as well. He's the hired gun for this evening. Mark lives in Southern California as well as I do. He has a syndicated guitar show called The Ultimate Guitar Show on TV, California, Arizona, Louisiana. He's a highly renowned guitar teacher in that area as well. And he's one heck of a good player. He did bring some of his music for sale tonight, so sample a little bit, and then you can throw your money around at that if you like. But this is what's going to happen. We're going to do a little music. We're going to talk about tone. All right, that's the most subjective word in this business. Tone is like the word best. What's best for you on January 1st here is not necessarily best for me in San Diego on January 1st, right? So it's very implicative of what's around you and what you're doing. You buy anybody's product, that first 3 lines in the warranty card tell you that the tone is not covered under warranty. So we want to make sure you understand what that means before you try to buy something and then return it because the tone's no good. Okay? We're going to talk briefly about body shapes. We're going to do some electric excitement with some music and a little bit of foreshadowing on what we're working on as a company. And when we're all said and done here, everything around you is for your disposal. Okay? Anything with a red tag on it, I brought from San Diego. Anything else was already provided by Naperville. It's one big mush pot of really cool stuff. Okay, so we invite you to play things that you've lusted over, read about, never even seen before, because this is one of the biggest guitar displays you can find at any one time. Okay? Are there any questions before we start? Okay? So what I figured we'd do is we jump right into a little music and let you know that we actually kind of enjoy it as well. Okay? We really appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming on a school night.
So real quick, I just want to tell you guys, thank you very much for letting me come out here. This is truly a blessing and an honor to get to do. Every night we go out, it's a different show. I get to meet different people, really neat folks like yourselves. We have great conversations about this thing that we're all so passionate about, and I just can't thank you enough for being here for that and for letting me do this. I often say, 'cause it's true, that if I'm not up here doing this, I come to these types of events to gather inspiration. And what I found over the years is I can walk in any music store at any time and see that 7-year-old kid pick up a Squire Strap for the first time, or that 70-year-old guy playing guitar like I will never be able to. And the result is always exactly the same. I'm inspired, I want to play a guitar, and so we hopefully get you guys that same inspiration tonight. So when you go home, if nothing else, you just want to pick up your guitars and play. Right? Yeah. So that's kind of what we're here for. I thought we'd start with music, because that's what these guitars are made to do, and this is off of a record that I did for Taylor Guitars a few years ago. This is a double cut.
guitar. This is kind of the new face of the Taylor electric line, and it's a plan for us. It's going to be more than just 1 year at a time. We're looking at gaining trust within the electric world, which is a real big challenge because everybody knows things like Fender Stratocaster and Gibson Les Paul, and these guitars are not necessarily designed to replace those. But just like anything else, variety is the spice of life. So the double cut solid body, which is now pretty much sold out through the end of the year, has really kind of taken us to that next level, and that's the face of our new electric campaign. We'll talk about the other part of the electric line in a little while, but we really wanted to showcase that right out of the gate, so it sounds pretty good. Okay, so let me just quickly see the hands of anybody that actually owns a Taylor in this room right now. Okay, Mike, pay attention. Keep them up. Who has 2, 3, 4? Make sure we get a shirt here. And then my buddy in the John Deere hat over here as well. Okay, now, let's see the hands of anyone who doesn't actually own a Taylor. You're brave, put your hands up in this group.
Yeah. Won't last long.
Won't last long.
That's right.
So just quickly about Taylor in general, because it's important that you just understand where we as a company come from. 1974, it's as organic as you can imagine. It's got that real intimate family business experience with a very large output as far as how many guitars we actually make. You have Bob Taylor and his partner Kurt Listig. They chop it pretty much right down the middle. Bob handles all the design and the innovation side. Kurt handles all the marketing and the sales side. So it's kind of this real nice fork in the road. Yes?
DJ Patton used to be a part of the company, correct?
That's correct.
And he split up to do his own guitars?
That's correct.
Because I own a Patton.
Okay.
But it went out of business?
Some would say. Yes.
Is it coming back to Taylor?
No.
Well, okay.
Let's be definitive about that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I bet my next guitar on it. So, You know, anything that we make that's glossy or 300 series and above, about 97% of the guitars in this room are made in El Cajon, which is just outside of San Diego. It's really cool there because when you look on a weather report, San Diego kind of regulates its temperature all year round. We have more 70-degree days than anybody else in the United States. So what that's great for is that if you've ever been at the factory, you'll see the tents where we actually just dry our wood outside. We have the ability to kind of season the timber in the most natural way possible. There's about 500 employees. We build about 110,000 guitars a year. And we are at this point the #1 acoustic guitar builder in the world. And there's nobody that actually acquires more timber from the source, and what I mean by that is actual logs, than we do. We have people that are physically looking for things out there that we know we can turn around and say, this is up to Taylor quality standards. So, the majority of you that own Taylors probably own something that ends with a CE at the end of it, 314 CE, 810 CE, etc. And that's kind of become this regulated nomenclature amongst our guitar names. The C stands for cutaway, and the E stands for the electronics package. Let me unveil the first myth right now. Okay?
If you think that you're not going to get your money's worth because you're buying something that doesn't already have a cutaway and doesn't already have a pickup involved, I'd rather you just kind of check that at the door, because you have to remember you're buying a noisemaker first, and then you're buying sound as far as options after that.
The really exciting part about acoustic guitars is that it's one of the most romantic things you'll ever purchase. You usually purchase them with these first, right? And then you purchase them with these, okay? So when you look at guitars that don't have cutaways versus the ones that do, you gotta, understand what it is that you're doing with the guitar. Because everybody kind of gets their instrument. You go home and you do this, right? That's what it's designed to do. It's like your TV remote. What do you do with it? You do this. It's got a general direction, okay? So it's really there to allow access up the neck. I'm just going to knock out the most popular roadshow question of all time. Does the cutaway actually take away sound? The answer is no. Okay. Over time, what we realized is that we were really losing touch with acoustic guitar players. Folks really liked the idea of just a great sounding instrument, and they didn't want to spend on things like abalone inlays and cutaways and electronics packages and upgraded what have you. They're really looking for something that just jumps right out of the case and just sounds fantastic. Okay? They're playing from here, not from here. All right? So in 2007, what we did is we split our line kind of down the middle, and we created an acoustic-only line. You'll notice the acoustic-only instruments, they have no cutaway. They have no flare. They're all gloss, but they're bound in ivory. They all look very similar. But anytime we actually create a new model, a new body shape, a new cutaway, a new bracing pattern, a new neck design, we always start with what we call our gold standard. The gold standard is Honduran mahogany with Western red cedar. All right? And just so that you know, Western red cedar and the maple that's going to be on the next guitar are the only two timbers we really use from the United States. Everything else is what we would consider exotic timber. It comes from outside the United States. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to move through some of these guitars. We're going to keep the body shapes the same, but we're going to start to listen to what the guitar tone woods are actually doing. We're going to really start to delve into tone here. So with the first guitar, this is designed to kind of just get your ears turned on. It's the canvas with no paint yet. You haven't seasoned any of the stew yet. Okay? This is our 0 point. If you've got bass on one side and you've got treble on the other, our mahogany cedar guitars sit kind of right here in the middle. Nice natural bell curve. Sounds real relative to a human voice when you speak. Okay, the tones are similar. Response just yet, because talking about sounds like talking about love. Hallmark does it pretty good, but as a human being in real life, you need to get real creative. Ask your wife. Now, anybody that owns a Taylor 600 series guitar, see a hand. Ooh, we got one. 600 series guitars are what we use with our big leaf maple. It doesn't grow this color, we stain it. It really has some really interesting looks to it. Would you hold on to that for me for a second? The majority of the maple that you'll see in real life is flame. This is what quilt looks like. It takes a trained eye to know what a tree looks like before you cut it, so there's a very specific way of peeling bark and understanding what the grain's going to look like without having to kill the tree first. This represents about 2% of all maple on acoustic instruments, not just table, because it's very rare to find, especially this speaker. It's incredible. Oh, I just bought that one, didn't I? Yeah, it's all right. They're all going on my chart. Now, maple has some really inherent value to it. It's extremely dense. That means it's going to be very bright. It's relative to women's vocal cords, okay? Women's voice boxes are tighter than men's. Their voices are typically higher pitched than men's. So you usually see female singer-songwriters working with maple guitars because they have this similar lineup as far as EQ response. It matches well. Another good reason for maple is that if you're doing any type of studio work, whether you're in a big studio, home recording situation, or even if you're playing in a real loud band, worship, country, rock, if you're amongst a lot of other things that are happening simultaneously, a maple guitar stands right out in front. Okay? It doesn't have the overtones that some of the more exotic timber has. So bass, treble, mahogany cedar is nice, plump in the middle. That maple just kind of slides up towards that top end register. You're going to hear a lot of brightness, a lot of shimmeriness to it. Who likes the first sound better? Who likes the second sound better? Who doesn't hear the difference yet? Because he will eventually. Cool. Get him a t-shirt right here. He put his hand up. I love it. Okay. Other questions before we continue? Doing okay? Anybody else play a TJ Baden guitar?
All over. It's cedar mahogany.
Nice guitars. Nice guitars. Okay. The next two guitars really warrant a discussion about what acoustic guitars in general do. Because this is going to help us kind of transcend just beyond what Taylor is all about. You know, Bob will tell you that we have a really great idea on how to make a beautiful looking guitar, how to make a really nice sounding guitar. But we've gone there. We've put 30 dealers from around the country in a room and Bob stand there and go, all right, put your hand up if you think Taylor is the best sounding guitar on the planet. Maybe half. What's Bob Taylor? I better put my hand up. Then Bob will say, well, how many of you think that the Taylor is the best playing guitar on the planet? And everyone's going to put their hand up. Because we say that we have a PhD in neck design. That's what really drives our focus on how to build a really inspiring acoustic. But as far as acoustic guitars go in general, 90% of what you're hearing is the top. That's why they call it the tone wood, the soundboard, okay? Somebody please tell the crowd why there is a sound hole.
Air pressure.
Okay? I'll take it a little bit further. The answer is along the lines of air pressure. Assume for a minute that the acoustic's just like you. It has to breathe in, it has to breathe out. And every time it exhales, it gives enough space so that top can move up again. So when I actually strike a chord, that top is moving up and down, left to right, side to side, so fast, you just kind of feel the hum. You don't actually see what it's doing. It's moving like the ocean. Okay? With these guitars, if you're using a cedar top like the ones we're about to play, and the first guitar you heard, cedar is super soft, totally dynamic, doesn't need a ton of energy to get it going, and you usually would find it on somebody who's a fingerstyle player, you know, someone who does a lot of finger picking. Spanish guitar players, cedar, not a ton of energy, get a ton of reward, okay? On the flip side, which is going to be the guitar right after this, it's going to have Sitka spruce, which is on just about 80% of all the guitars on the planet. It's much more sturdy. Takes a little bit more energy to get it going, but once it's going, it's rolling like a train with no brakes. It will will never give you a volume limitation. Okay? On the back and sides of both guitars is rosewood, Indian rosewood. Right? It's the most popular combination for back and sides that's out there. You got mahogany cedar in the middle. You got your maple guitars on that top end treble. Everybody thinks rosewood's the best because it gathers all that extra bass. So what you're going to notice is a very full range sound, but you're also going to notice a tremendous volume increase as well. This is the one I'm running out of the building with.
Yeah.
I want to run right into the next guitar. Same combination on the back and sides. Now we're going to roll back some of that crispiness from the cedar. You're going to roll in some of that creaminess from the mid-range for spruce. If you're a strummer only, spruce top is a little bit more up your alley. Now, contrary to popular belief, this is pretty much the loudest Taylor you can buy. You know, we would ask that, size has its, shape has its relative sound to it, especially when you start to think about things like drum sets. The bigger the box, the bigger the boom. Here's the secret, though. The more mid-range articulation that you want out of a guitar, of anybody's guitar, here's the secret. You've got to taper the waist. Okay? What I mean by that, this is the same shape, right? No. It's the same real estate. This is the same amount of area on both of these. Okay? This is the guitar that most people in this room started playing guitar with. This is what you're used to hearing. This is what's on every record from 1960, 1970, and early 80s. What we decided to do is start manipulating with shape, and then you start pulling in the waist. That starts to accentuate mid-range. So all of a sudden, if you're not a bluegrass player, bluegrass players love that nice downward stroke and that nice bass, and then they get that nice top-end upswing. That D and G string, they disappear. That's where your fiddle sits. That's where your banjo's coming in. That's where your yodeler's hopping, right? As soon as you step away from that bluegrass situation, all of a sudden now you're looking for a full range sound. You're looking for what I call a wash of tones. When I strum a chord, I want to hear every string in that chord. I don't want to lose frequencies just because that geometry is holding it back. Okay? So, with a dreadnought, still that very traditional, warm, boxy flavor. As soon as you move to a GS or a Grand Symphony, this is what we would consider our bold strumming guitar. But it's really going to give you all the flavors that are involved. The face of our company is right here. Let's make sure I have the right one. I'm on camera. This is my review. Anything that's going to end in a 14 series CE or a Grand Auditorium, this is 70% of our business. So this is just a hair smaller than our GS. This guitar, waist, comes up a 1/4 inch. Lower belt comes out about 3/8 inch. Not a lot of real estate. That turns you into a GS. That gives you that extra low end kick, that extra volume. This is still the most balanced guitar that we make. I'm a fingerstyle player. I flat pick. I singer-songwriter. I work at the home studio. I gig at the Italian restaurant. I make all the cats and dogs howl on a Friday night at home. It's still the jack of all trades. Okay? There's one last guitar that I wanted to demo for you before we kind of switch gears, and Alcoa series guitars. In fact, I'm actually going to this one. Now, the difference between things that are really good in this world and really great are the stories that kind of ensue. You know, everybody that's out there looking for their next greatest ... in this case, we'll fill that in with guitar, is always trying to find something that's relevant to something they already own. You know, everybody in this room has something that's very valuable to them that has some kind of historic significance. They found it on eBay for 5 cents. They found it at a pawn shop and it's really worth 80 grand. Their grandfather gave it to them and it came out from underneath the bed. You know, it has some inherent value to it, and you're trying to parlay that into that next acquisition of yours, so you're really searching. You can go to any car lot in this state and buy a black Ford truck. You can get the price the same, the car's going to look the same, it has the same features, and it's going to drive pretty much the same. But when we're talking about acoustic instruments, you have to be at the right place at the right time, because some of you who may have no affiliation with Taylor right now, or Naperville Music, or this state, because you're passing through, would find yourself in a position where all of a sudden there's a guitar here that just says your name. And that is a really special thing.